Good morning and welcome to Equity Story, the 30th of June, so the last day of the financial year. I'm on my own today. In front of you is the disclaimer, so please have a read through it. Of course, we are just only talking about in general format, so nothing personal in there. Fairly quiet this morning, and like I said, because I'm on my own, it could be a little bit short today, but we'll go through some interesting announcements. Maybe go through a little bit of commodities and just in general see how things are going. So let's start with some announcements this morning. I'm just going to get rid of some of the screen so we can start from the screen on my Reuters. I'm just going to get rid of that one, reshare the screens first of all, and we'll go through. And I've got 4 actually companies that we need to talk about today. And to start off with, we are going to have a look at HRL and ALQ, and we've got a takeover offer by ALQ with HRL at 16 cents, and I'm just going to go down to it so I can show you exactly what I'm looking at. Where are we? A bit further down, here we go. So we're going to enter that one, have a quick look, have a read through it, and here it is. And we've got 16 cents per share. Looks like HRL board has got yes, please take us. So they have agreed to that, which is probably, I'd say, a fairly high chance that this will go through, and they are paying cash ALQ. Now, let's have a look at both charts to see actually how they're performing. So I think this should be a done deal over the next few weeks. So if you're in this, I suppose you'll probably get some money out of that shortly. Unfortunately, you know, both of them not going that fantastically well. They are in a good spot. When you think about it, they are in the commodity space, supporting the commodity space. So really, they should be doing better than they are, but the market in general is fairly weak. So, you know, it doesn't matter where, I suppose, which sector you're in, there's going to be some pressure going on. So let's have a look at HRL to start off with, because of course they are the ones that are being taken over. And let's have a look. So you've got the 16 cents right there. Maybe what the market's thinking here is that there might be a higher offer because it's actually above the 16 cents, and possibly there could be a little bit of bidding war coming through. So look, if you're in this, and it's come back from like 8 cents, so it's almost doubled from where it was. You know, profits, of course, in this market, you'd definitely think about it. Maybe it's, you know, the usual strategy of sell half, keep the other half, and see what happens. Could be the right approach here, but you just never know. This market just makes me nervous every time I look at it from one day to the next. You just don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, that looks like it's given the market's really happy with it, that it's going to go through, but the market's actually thinking there might be some sweet no, maybe someone else will come through. Let's have a quick look at ALQ. And here we go. So we've got ALQ. You can see a little bit of pressure. Of course, they're usually the acquirer here, the one that possibly is going to have a bit of weakness because they have to spend the cash to get in a company, even though they might be adding more revenues, possibly profitability. It's always a risk, you know, doing a takeover. So usually there's a little bit of pressure on the share price of the acquirer, unless it's something extraordinary, of course. But anyway, they're trading below. So really, as a trend, there isn't one. From CTM point of view, you shouldn't be in there, but it's still, you know, relatively okay, I suppose. Maybe if you look at the monthly, and in the current situation, you know, you can make a case for some of these stocks to be on the monthly. Maybe in case of ALQ, you know, last line of defense, if you're still in this, last line of defense would be around 10.40, but then you go, that's your last excuse really. Otherwise, you have to probably get out. But yeah, you know, still, I suppose monthly hold, weekly probably out. If you're trending, there's definitely out. But HRL is looking good. So that's the first one. The second one is actually quite interesting because we floated this company. So let's have a look at it. And that was MRZ. So we'll just go to MRZ now and have a look at what they have done. They've come up with an announcement in Canada, James Bay, which is a fairly, I suppose, when you can say it's a prolific spot for lots of deposits. All right, so we're going to have a look at this announcement right there. Maiden drill program. So the MRZ is farming into this azimuth James Bay assets. I think they can earn up to 70% of it when they spend X amount of money. So when you look through it, they are looking for nickel, copper, I suppose base metals in general, James Bay. But it is, like I said, that region is very, very, very synonymous with big deposits out there. All right, let's have a look at nickel, especially nickel actually, and copper. So if you have a look at it, you've got this discovery holder they're talking about, they're getting excited about. You've got 2.68% nickel, 1.3% copper, bit of cobalt in there, over 3.3 meter intercept from 143 to 146. So this is about 110 meters below ground, right? So it's not too deep. Remember, we're looking for three things out of our commodity type stories when they actually drill and they come up with assay results. So we're looking at grade, intercept, width, and depth. Depth is pretty good. 110 meters is very, very good. Nickel especially. Then we're looking at the width. 3.3 meters is okay. And the grade of 2.68 is okay as well. So first hole, definitely something that you maybe want to watch, especially when they're talking about that this is one of the better holes that's been hit in that region for some time. So you want to see what else they've got. Of course, one hole does not make a deposit. We've talked about many times, but the good thing here is that they've got another pending essays for another 3 holes, right? And it seems to correlate. This hit seems to correlate to a conductor that they've got on one of the maps, which I'll show you in a second. So it's something to watch closely. If you're in this, I suppose, you've got something to look forward to. If you're not in this because you've taken a profit or it's below trend lines and you're not trending this at the moment, again, you probably want to just watch it to see how it performs because there's 3 more holes to come. If it's better, and hopefully it is better, because of course it's good, but it's not good enough, so to speak. So you need more. We need more out of this to see what else they can come up with. So I'll quickly show you the actual picture of it where it is. So this is the diagram that they've got here from the Wapatik property, James Bay region. So they've got this is the hole that they've got, the 2.68 at 1.3 copper, 0.009 cobalt, 3, and you can see there's a conductor that they've actually come up through when they're doing the early preliminary type reconnaissance missions out there. They've got other conductors as well, but they're going to obviously drill more if the other holes come through with some interesting hits. So from that point of view, definitely something to watch to see what they're going to come up. I'm not sure when they're actually going to release the other results. Presumably it's not going to be that far away. If they've got 1 hole, they might have the other 3 within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So watch it carefully. So I'll quickly go through the actual chart just to see where it is at the moment. So give me a second. I'm just getting to the chart part. And with little MRZ, you probably should have made some money already on it when we first listed it, because we listed it at 20 cents. Hit as far, I think, as high as 40, 46 even. So you've plenty of opportunity to maybe take some profits out of this. And you can see it's jumped today from 28. Let me see, what's the jump today? So 6.5 cents. So that's 23%. So you can see that's why it's quite interesting. It's jumped significantly back to over 34. Of course, we've got another day tomorrow. So let's see if that follows through. And then we'll sort of make a decision where if it's something that maybe we can put on as a trend or not. But that will Dave for Sunday for his Einsteins. All right, let's look at the next announcement, and that was AGL. So we'll go back here. We'll get rid of MRZ and put in AGL. Interesting here because, of course, we've seen some M&A activity from Brookfield and, of course, from Mr. Ken Brooks out there trying to take over the company when they were trying to split up. But they didn't quite, the actual demerger didn't happen because of the interest from both Cannon Brooks and Brookfield. But it seems like they're coming back for more, Brookfield. So they've AGL just announced that Brookfield interest has come up with about 2.5% in AGL as of June 24th. So they are quietly accumulating more shares. So basically watch this space. I think there's going to be maybe some sort of another bid maybe come through, or at least a substantial shareholder notice from Brookfield. So just, again, if you're in this, it's probably going to be fairly good for you because there is some buying from Brookfield. So let's have a look at the chart here. And let's see what happens. So it's going to go through right there. We've got AGL coming through. As you can see, it is holding up reasonably well, isn't it? And I know I'm looking at the weeklies, which is good. So you've got a decent looking chart. It's holding up. That interest has given it a little bit more of a boost. So it stays like that by the end of the week. You never know. There could be another one that you might have a look at next week to see how it performs. All right, so last one from yesterday, and we did talk about it in a brief detail, but it was something that we needed to talk about because it could affect, could have a big effect on the actual company, and that's SHV, Select Harvests. So there's an article, we're having problems with one of the mites here in Australia that affects bees. So let's have a look what the actual company said on its announcement. So those articles come through NFR. Then the next day, SHV came out and started talking about this pollination update. So let's see what they've actually said. Read it out. Last week, Varroa mite was detected in Sentinel Hive at Port of Newcastle, right? So this is not great news because pollination is very, very important for the almond industry. So if we go down all the bottom, it just says, this is how it's going to affect us, right? So we've got the impact on Select Harvest. Almond orchards are 100% dependent on European bee pollination. So you can see it's huge risk, right? It's huge risk. If you don't get the bees pollination, there goes the harvest. Pollination occurs during blossom in the last 3 of August. So that's not that far away. 29% of our orchards are in New South Wales and currently affected by the standstill order. So there's an order put through, of course, that it's like almost like a lockdown for the bees. COVID-19 bee lockdown. A further 11% acres are dependent on hives located in New South Wales, and a further 4% are dependent on hives located. With pollination services potentially disrupted to 44% of our orchards, we are undertaking the following mitigation strategy to support HSV 2023 crop pollination. So they're going to source additional hives, relocate hives, and review the hive distance. So they're going to try to mitigate the issues. How successful they're going to be, whether there's going to be a complete wipeout, we just don't know. It's a high risk, right? I saw. I think Macquarie, one of the big brokers, come out on FN Arena today saying, yep, we're watching the situation closely, but we're still happy with how things are going for SHV. And they did point out, right, on the side saying that, look, this mite is actually entrenched as a pest in California. And over the last 10 years, the actual production of almonds has doubled. So, you can definitely live with it, but because we don't have it here in Australia and it's just the first beginnings of it, it could be problematic to start off with. Once it maybe becomes prevalent, then things like SHV need to get used to it and need to work out ways of actually dealing with it and making sure it doesn't affect the production. So for now, it's definitely a big risk, and we'll go through the charts just to see what it looks like. Charting got hit yesterday for sure on SHV, and as a result, it's not looking pretty at all. So this is SHV as of today. And because it's Thursday only, right, you still just probably want to see what happens tomorrow. I know it's been flat in the US, so it's fairly a directionalist type day. So nothing's really, what's going on. We've got actually a down today on our market due to the effect. I think I saw financials down, and I also saw energy weighing on the market as well. So fairly not lackluster day. And it's not looking great for us for another day on the down. When we had about 4 or 5 days up, so a bit of selling down. Yesterday we didn't have a great session, so today is another little bit of a sell-off following that up. But we've got tomorrow to come to see how it happens. But anyway, that was. I'm trying to get this. Let me see if I can get this. Oops. Get this chart for you, but it's not looking great, and maybe that's why it doesn't want to show you. But anyway, if it doesn't show it, I'll go to. We're going to have a look at some charts on some of these commodities, because I'm quite interested, of course, remember following some of these commodities to see where they're actually going to be landing at. And I'm just looking through. The one of interest really took me from yesterday was about lithium, right? We talked about PLS, we talked about LTR and some others that were actually coming out with some announcements. So I'm just trying to see where I think maybe the lithium price will be. With the definitive visibility studies that some of these companies are coming out, I want to see what prices they use to see whether it makes actually sense in the future. But if I'm just looking through lithium, and there was some pretty good articles over the last couple of days, still fairly positive on lithium. And I know, the market was spooked maybe a month ago when one of the big, I think Goldman Sachs or someone come up with saying, well, the party's over for lithium. It's going to probably come down. Lithium prices were still okay, but the actual companies themselves started to really sell off pretty hard. But there's a little bit of a bounce back now with some lithium companies. I'm actually maybe put another company just to see if I can actually put one up. So this is from yesterday, LTR. Let's see if I can get this one up. Hopefully it will come up. Otherwise, I'll go back and we'll start it again. And I'm always having trouble like that. So no, when I'm trying to get something up for you, but let's just go to that. Go back here. LTR. Let's go back into charting again. See what happens there. So LTR. Like that. And you can see SHV was pretty down. So we'll go here. We'll go to equity story. See where it's at. There we go. That's better. Now we can see. So we had a big jump yesterday, LTR. It's come back to, I think, $1. So it seems like maybe nice support here. Of course, it's still not a great trending stock because it's underneath our CTM lines, trend lines, but at least it's, maybe has found some support around this dollar. And remember also that, I suppose, overall bigger picture, a lot of these lithium stocks are still fairly expensive in a way. But what I want to show you quickly is the actual chart of the spodumene prices, which was quite interesting when I had a look at them this morning. And this is why I suppose you're still going to be quite positive on some of these companies, right? And the reason why I looked at LTR was because it was actually a very, very good update from them, right? From yesterday. So they talked about what they looking to actually produce in a couple of years' time. They used a price of, I think, $1,200 per ton. If I just go back here and I'll show you the chart here, I think it'll be easier to see. And if I'm going to put in spodumene again, you can see how it looks like right there. Okay, so this is the spodumene price right here. So like I said, they're using a long-term price, if I'm correct here, of about 1,200. This is long-term prices. It's 6,625 at the moment. You can see there's a huge discrepancy between the current prices and what some of these companies may be used in their feasibility study. So that is a positive in a way. They're being fairly conservative. And if it does come off in 2 years, hopefully it's still above that $1,200, of course. But no, I don't think anyone expects the prices to, in 2 or 3 years' time, still be at 6,000. I think they're probably going to moderate somewhat. What they're going to be, I'm not so sure. But it's nice to see a company like LTR not having a too big crazy prices out there in their modeling, which is good. So that's what I just want to quickly show you. I'm going through some of the other stuff. I mean, in gold, of course, I'm just looking at trading economics, something for you guys to have a look at. Gold is still fairly indifferent, 1820, so nothing's happening there. Iron ore, again, it's had a little bit of a jump this week, but it's not doing too much for me. So it's fairly going to be steady, I'd say, for now. And then I'm going to go down to the zincs and the nickels. Haven't had a good week. Tin was down 14%, zinc was down 5%, nickel was down 5%, lead down 2.5%, cobalt down 2.5%. Yeah, so it wasn't a great overall, I suppose, picture for the base metals this week. So expect some of these companies like S32s and so on, which actually we might have a look at quickly, not doing greatly. All right, so I'm going to wrap up on this. I'm just going to quickly show you the S32 and price for maybe BHP or something like that. So we can have a look at there where they are with that weakening for the week of some of these prices, as you can see, as a fall as a result of it. Hopefully, again, I'm going to use that $4 as the last line of defense if you're still in this. Otherwise, if it breaks that, I think you're probably going to see it down to 360. And if you're a trader, you've got to be out. You've got to be out anyway by now, right? You should have been out on this right here, on this action right here. So the only way you're going to hold it probably is if you're a long-term shareholder and you put it on a monthly and it looks a little bit better. Right, so you can see that's still fairly good. So 370 might be the one. So well, like Dave usually says, it shouldn't do something different that it hasn't done before. So it should hold that red line. It had it flirt with it a couple of times before, but yeah, 370 should hold if it's a good story, if the market's true, right? And of course, the market isn't that true at the moment, so it could be a fluctuation, but hopefully it'll hold this line. All right, so on that note, we're going to wrap it up. I just want to make sure there is no other news coming through. It is, like I said, today weak on the back of energy prices coming off a little bit. So there's more profit taking in the energy sector. and we've got the financials being weak as well. So it's of course weak all around for our market. Still tomorrow to come. Let's see what happens. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining. And tomorrow, again, I'll be by myself doing the video, and I'm going to do the Ask the Analyst by myself probably as well. So please join me for tomorrow. But for now, thank you and see you tomorrow. Cheers.